The Gen Z protesters have vowed to continue on with their march, and at the same time the president continuing to tell Kenyans that I'm giving you the listening ear, all he needs is time. Let's get to it as we begin this conversation. Now, okay, a lot has transpired within the past couple of weeks. Gen Zs have vowed they're going to continue with their protests. The president has made some considerable changes in his governance, and at the same time, you've come out and termed the opposition leader Raila Odinga as somebody who's basically a political prostitute for looking after his interests before getting the bare minimum for those who lost their lives and by extension their families. Before we get to the letter that you addressed to the internal affairs of the NPC, let's just discuss Raila's role. What was his role in this equation for him to be termed a political prostitute?
Well, thank you for having me. The first issue I would like to address is that Raila has joined the government before when we had the 2007-2008 riots or post-election violence. Raila ended up in government under the National Accord, but that was done procedurally.
Yeah.
They amended the constitution to allow that to happen, and it happened in that procedure.
Yeah.
Fast forward to 2024. We have these Gen Z riots. The government is destabilized. The Ruto government is totally destabilized and delegitimized.
Yeah.
It is seeking for support, as anybody would seek for support. It reaches out to Raila, or Raila reaches out, offers his support. But then he does it in violation of the law. Under Article 4, Kenya is a multi-party democracy.
Yes.
And when people, and then we are given a chance to form coalitions before elections or after elections. So Kenyans voted largely in two formations, two major formations.
Yeah.
That was Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. Kenyans gave Azimio the majority in parliament, at least in the National Assembly. But President Ruto went out and bought MPs to cross to his side. So he creates a false majority in parliament.
Yeah.
Around that time, I had a chance to sit down with Raila in his home, and we talked. And I told him, I'm not going to cross because I was elected. Not in Kenya Kwanza. I was elected virtually in an independent body, but my party was allied to Azimio, and I'll stay put. And he told me stay put because there's nothing to do and whatever. But that aside, he complained bitterly about the betrayal of people crossing after being elected, crossing and disregarding the law and going the other side. When Professor Agenda and others tried to, and other Luo MPs tried to associate with the other side, it was chaos. And it was correctly, he was rightly bitter because under Article 103 of the Constitution, you lose your seat if you are deemed to associate with the other party.
Well, okay, in this state, he's made an argument for his case, stating very carefully he has nothing to do with what has transpired within the party in terms of crossing over. And secondly, those very same Gen Zs of the protesters initially told Baba, take a backseat. So would you then blame somebody who's probably negotiating or doing whatever he's doing from his back end?
I think if you allowed me to lay down my argument,
then
you'd understand where I'm coming from.
Okay, right.
Because it's a matter of rule of law. So, if ODM, the party leader of ODM is Raila Odinga, he has not condemned his members. Who is Mbadi?
The party's chairman.
Who is Nani? This man with the Luya name.
Wycliffe? Oparana?
No. The other MP.
Opio Wandai?
Wandai.
Yes.
Who is he?
Minority leader?
Who is Joho?
Deputy party leader?
Who is Oparanya?
Deputy party leader.
Deputy party leader.
Yeah.
Now, these people have clearly breached the law. They are associating, they are deemed, they are even associating with the other party.
Okay.
What action has he taken as a party leader? His silence is complicit.
Yeah.
So he cannot blow hot and cold. So what I'm saying is that what Raila should have done, or ODM, is to enter into a charter with the Kenya Kwanza,
Yeah.
a post-election charter, and then officially decamp to the other side. Then leave all the seats. ODM should vacate all the seats on the opposition side and join government. Then we know what we are dealing with.
Okay.
But when he adds on to the confusion that he complained about by what this party has done, then he's not doing us any good. He's having no stance. He's having no standards.
Yeah.
And you saw the other day, I saw in media that it was in Mombasa saying how they can engage with the other side. So he's talking from both sides of his head. So he's not clear, but to me what is important is that it's a violation of the law, it's a distortion of the constitution.
Okay.
So there's this political sanity that we need to have, is what we would like to see. I would like to see the Raila of 2007, who was principled and who said, we cannot do anything other than to follow the law, and if the law doesn't allow it, we amend the law to allow it before we move anything. So that the rule of law is prime.
Well, you've talked of forming a shadow cabinet because you believe with what has just transpired, we've basically moved away from a presidential system based on the numbers of the minority and the majority, and you say in the coming days you're going to form that shadow cabinet if those very same legislators from ODM join the cabinet. But even before we get to the shadow cabinet, you've talked of dire consequences for these MPs. Could you contextualize this?
Well, but what I've just said is that basically the demographics of the voters have changed.
Okay.
And there's a big, you haven't seen people talking of recall of MPs. You saw even the anger of people went until they stormed parliament. That anger will not evaporate. People want proper representation. People want sincere leaders. People want honest leaders. People want transparent leaders. And so the dire consequences are going to suffer. To me, I tell you, already about 70% or so of MPs don't get elected. Don't be shocked if this particular parliament, the threshold is much higher. Because the standards, I think, have been raised. And if those who don't sober up are still up to the old tricks, they are going to pay a very high price in terms of their political careers. So those are the dire consequences they are going to suffer. Because some people are going to be recalled. I'm seeing a lot of mobilization around the recall movement.
Okay. Well, you've talked of this shadow cabinet. You're going to officially take the role of keeping the government in check and basically forming that shadow cabinet. And somebody said it somewhere would argue that probably this is something that has been stated by a number of leaders in the past, but it has never really been effected and put into play because people don't understand the mechanics of how it would work. Could you just basically paint out this shadow cabinet, how it would work?
Basically, we want to mirror government.
We
want to get groups of experts and committed Kenyans to be able to hold each ministry accountable, beginning with their budgets and their policies, and also to use it to create an alternative Kenya that we are looking for. So that there are very clear policies that will come. And these mechanisms will be structured within the political parties I belong to. It allows for that kind of, in the constitution, it says if it doesn't form a government, it will either be part of the minority, or if the governance system is such that there's no clarity, you go and form a shadow cabinet. So it's something we're discussing and something that's going to be realized. Even today we had a meeting around the same with a number of players. So we want really to come up with an issue whereby we can have a structured oversight. So we want to have every ministry of this government or department put under a watchful eye in terms of its policies, in terms of its revenues, in terms of its expenditure, and that way, so that we can be able to deal with the wanton wastage of public resources. Okay. So it's going to happen, and I think...
is this pegged on the appointment of...
No.
Oh, it's actually going to happen.
It's going to happen in respect of what... We are not responding.
Yeah.
I think we have reached a place whereby Parliament has been bastardized.
Okay.
Because the way people voted is not the way Parliament is constituted now. It's not the Parliament the people were elected is no longer the Parliament in power. So we want to begin to exercise that direct democracy. But we want to organize that direct engagement so that it is, and our ministries are not going to be the same names with the ministries that the president will name. We are going to come up with the ministries, and so far we are looking at about 14 marks, because basically what we had come up with is basically 12, but the constitution requires 14. So we are still looking how do we create 2 more to comply with the constitutional threshold. But we could govern this country with 12 ministries. All right.
Okay, well, let's take a break right here on Punchline. Of course, when we get back, we continue with the conversation on the Kenya that we want. Stick around.